Hi all, Plantside Agent here. Today we're going to take a look at the Indian-made Primus style kerosene pressure stove. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. I've seen these things online for many years now, and was kind of interested because they're similar to the famous Primus uh, type kerosene stoves, or all the Primus stoves, and Optimus and Svea and all those. And I've seen them in, these are made in India. And I kind of debated on getting one for a long time because I knew coming from India, I've had some of their other brass products. You know, they're not the best, but then again, you got to look at India. These aren't really made for export. I think these are all made for use locally or in countries that don't really have a lot of income. They can't afford the higher end stoves. So imagine to keep the price point down so that the local Indians, Pakistanis, whoever can afford to buy one and use it. So I think these are also not used for camping, but actually for cooking, either in the home or on some of the street vendors might use them to cook with. So they're they're kind of a, I guess you could say, a practical or a utilitarian stove rather than a camping outdoor type stove. But this is very similar in design to the original Primus Model 1 stove, which was made in 1892. And some of the features of that. And I'll just jump back here. Yeah, this one is called, if you look here, I don't know if you can see it, it's printed on here, the original gold stove number 12 and tested, although I don't think this one was tested, and we'll get into that later. But anyway, it seems to be all brass mostly, and it's very similar. I mean, in fact, the flame head here is identical to the Primus. I'm sure they just used the same design. And in fact, some of the name on it's similar to the the original Primus burner head. So, and some of the features of the number 1 was, well, it has a pump on the side, kind of like you see on Coleman stoves. And then they got the filler cap here that comes off. And then this is a vent, or a pressure relief valve. And this is how you shut the stove down, by bleeding the pressure off out of the tank. Or if you need to lower the flame a little bit, you can crack and let a little air out, which would reduce the pressure and also reduce the flame. So, like I say, it's almost the identical design to the original Primus one, except for this, the quality of workmanship and stuff is just not the same, but it does work. I have fired this off, so it does burn. So, and later on, after I kind of discuss the stove here, I'm going to go ahead and do a burn test. So just for starters, I don't know if you saw my little post I put on a while back stating that I was going to do a review of this one, and I do have a Primus number 51 stove reviews on them, but I was waiting on parts. And what happened, this came, well, not entirely unassembled. The burner head and the alcohol pan weren't installed. I had to screw them on to the to this little piece that comes up here. Now this is soldered in. I think a lot of the Primus ones, this actually all comes out and this is threaded in, but this is soldered in. So when I got it, and I had to screw it back together, the where the screw here meets in the pan and all it had was this flimsy little gasket, and it didn't hold. It leaked. When I fired this off the first time, I had flames coming out and around, so it wasn't good. So I thought, well, I'm gonna have to order some parts. So I went ahead, better gaskets that would work in this. So I actually went out to a place called Telley Lamps and Stoves, and they sell a lot of parts for these old Primus and Optimus stoves. And so I picked up some gaskets from them, and I got a little kit of them. And this one came with couple of the gaskets, some leather cups for the pump, so and gaskets for the seal here, or the filler knob. So they so you can rebuild and refurbish these. So it's kind of nice. I've bought stuff from them before to refurbish some other stoves. Like I have some Svea 123s. I got quite a few of these old style stoves, and one of these days I'll get around to reviewing all of those if I don't get sidetracked with all these alcohol burners I keep making. So anyway, so I went ahead and had to wait for those to come in. They came in. I installed 2 gaskets, one here where it attaches around the alcohol cup, and then also underneath where it comes there, because actually I had leakage coming out of here at the top of this part of the head and underneath, so I had flames coming out all over the place. So not very practical, didn't work very well. So anyway, I did put all this back together and fired it off, and it did work. So let's see what else we can say about it. Like I say, it's kerosene, or as it's called in a lot of places, paraffin, which is confusing because here in the States, paraffin is wax you make candles out of, but I don't know. Oh, when I first time I lit this off playing with it, I just kind of fired it up like you would, say, an old Coleman stove. You know, I just put in the fuel, pumped it up, and then of course I primed it and let it burn. And one of the other things I noticed when I was on the site, the Telley lamps and stoves, they actually had, you could buy these old Primus instruction sheets. So that's just pretty cool. I'm going to get one of these just for the heck of it, if nothing else. And it's written in many different languages, which is kind of interesting. So I just decided to read the instructions, which is, you know, who reads instructions, right? You read the instructions after you fail. But anyway, I didn't really realize it. What they say is to, before you start it, is to open this air valve down here, and then add the alcohol to the cup, light it off, and just before the flame starts to go down, then you close off the valve, and then hopefully there's enough pressure to you know, that the starting to vaporize and come out of the jet down here, and then you start pumping it to get the flame level you want. So I go, I wonder what the difference is, because the way I was doing it was I'd go ahead and seal it all up, start pumping it up, and, you know, put a few pumps into it, and then put the alcohol. And while I was waiting for it to burn off, nothing else to do, I just kept pumping up the stove to build up more pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a light on this the correct way. So we'll see if there's a difference. At least I'll see if there's a difference. You won't know since you didn't see my previous attempts. So that's just a curiosity. Let's see what else we can say about this. Oh, another interesting fact. These stoves do have a habit of the little jet of clogging up or carboning up. So a lot of the old ones came with the old Primuses and Sveas and Optimus, came with a little prick, which is just a real fine wire that you can get there and clean out the nozzle. For some reason, maybe these clog up a lot and they just are being generous, but it came with 3 of these little round ones, and they had another packet of these longer ones in there. So I got a lifetime supply of these prickers. I don't know why they sent so many. Maybe they just, you know, when they're packing, they just grab whatever winds up in their hand, throw it in there. What the heck, you know? One of those little odd things that you run across. Let's see. I think we'll go ahead and try and light this off and see what happens. Let's see. I got this open. I'm going to add some alcohol. How are we doing on? Yeah. Just about fill this up. Give it plenty so it really heats up. Okay. Hopefully that'll do the job. And then we'll light it off. Oh, you know, that's what I was going to do. Hang on a sec. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to time it to see how long it took to for this thing to fire up. So I actually got my timer out, and I hadn't had that set up yet. So now we're going to try again. And I'll probably, once this gets going or burns for a little bit, I'll probably just shut down, just because it's going to take a few minutes, and no use you just sit there and watch it burn. Okay, there goes the alcohol. I'll start the timer, and I'll just let it burn away, and once it starts acting like it wants to fire off, then I'll start the video again. Oh, one other thing, after we do the lighten it off, I am going to set up for a boil test to see how long it takes to boil your standard 2 cups, 16 ounces of water. Well, the alcohol finally burned off. I haven't seen anything like the jet, trying to come out of the jet. So let's see if there's anything coming out of there. Can't see anything. I think just let's see what happens here. I'm going to close this off and put a few pumps in, and then try lighten it off again. Come on. Yeah, I don't know what the difference on this is. I don't know if I want to try burning some more alcohol to see if that does. I think I'll play around with it a little bit and then get back to you. All right, I burned another cup of alcohol through there. I probably put enough alcohol in there just to boil 2 cups of water just from the alcohol alone, much less getting this thing started up. I really don't understand why they want you to crack this vent valve, on the to start it up. It's puzzling to me. And like I say, I tried it that way, and I went through 2 things of alcohol. I'm kind of curious. I have that Primus number 51, which the head part is identical to this one, and it's just the tank design's a little bit different, and I'll show you that when I do a review on that. But anyway, so I'm curious to see how that lights up using the original instructions. See if it's just maybe the way this stove is that it doesn't want to work that way. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and oh yeah, and I got 9 minutes. I've been fiddling around with this for almost 10 minutes and hadn't got it to light. Before, when I tried it by closing this off and pumping while it burned, it did get it to fire off. So I think what I'm going to do now is just so you can see the flame pattern and all, I'm going to go ahead and start this the way I did it before, which is basically close this off, light the alcohol, and while it's heating up the head, I just can start pumping into it. And you do have to pump quite a bit of air in it. This is a really big tank. I don't know how much it would hold, but I think if you're using this, in the home or in a street stall or something, that you want a big tank because you don't have to stop and refill this thing all the time. And weight and all is not a problem if it's sitting on a counter somewhere like here. But being a bigger tank, you have to put a lot more air into it with this little pump, which is it's probably a little bit smaller than a Coleman, but about the same diameter. So you got to pump quite a bit of air to get some pressure into this. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this, try again, getting this thing going, and then I'll show you the burn pattern. Finally, it's starting to fire off. Criminy, I've been pumping like crazy, and we've been out of here for almost 18 minutes. But it is starting to fire off like your classic type pressure stove. In fact, I actually went through 2 more cups of the alcohol, which shouldn't take that long, which is interesting. The first couple of times I fired this off, it wasn't near as finicky as it is right now. So I don't know what the difference is. It's really not that strong of a flame. If we can boil any water on this or not. Put a little more pressure in it. Uh-oh. Okay, there's my problem. I'll bring it down here and let you see. That's probably why it hasn't been working. That gasket, let's see what we got here. If you can see up under there or not, that it's, oh, okay. The flame was coming out down here. Oops. Uh-oh, knocked something off my cupboard, sorry. So evidently that gasket that I put in there failed, so maybe I need to tighten it down since it's run a couple of times, so let me fiddle with it. The flame is still leaking out from the bottom, so those two gaskets I put on there, it's not sealing, the flame's coming out, which means you're not getting enough pressure to, although it's starting to get some pressure now. It's starting to sound pretty good even though it's leaking out of the bottom. So really, now it's starting to sound like one, but the performance is not going to be that good with, fuel leaking out of the bottom there. I don't know what kind of gasket I'm going to get to try to seal that up. I did take a wrench and put a little bit more turn on it, tighten it down, but it's still leaking. So I don't know. It's starting to sound like a Primus stove now, but I'm obviously not going to do a boil test until I break this down and see if I can find a new gasket. So I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to go ahead and post this video anyway since it was a failure, just out of point of interest. Yeah, look at the kerosene. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut this down. Like I said, once you crack this valve, poof, it goes right down. So at least it shuts off in a hurry. So yeah, I don't know why the gaskets I got didn't fail. First, after I reassembled it with the new gaskets, it did burn very nicely. I don't know why now. Maybe just the gaskets get too hot, or they shrink, or I don't know. Anyway, back to the drawing board on this. I'm going to go ahead and play around, see if I can get this darn thing to seal up and burn correctly. And then once I do that, I'll do another video where I actually do a burn test to see how it boils water. Maybe it never will because I can never get it sealed up. But I have to play around, find some gaskets. If anybody has any ideas on what I might try or use, I'd appreciate the comment. Other than that, this was your, let's call this your first look at the Indian style Primus kerosene stove. So hope you guys enjoyed the video or stuck to it, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.